It's almost the end of the year already. I'm gonna be 23 in a couple of months. Hello everyone, Brent here, also known as Smoky Dude, and today I am back with a wrap-up, what I read, what I watched, whatever the hell you want to call it. And basically I will be talking about all of the books, comics, shows, manga. I didn't read any manga, I don't know why I said that. Stuff I consumed in November. To be honest, I noticed that a couple of people mentioned that November was a busy month, and well, I just have to say, November was busy. There's nothing really else for me to say. It was just a busy time. I was kind of swamped with schoolwork and other responsibilities. I did a lot of podcasts, which were a lot of fun. I did one with Derry from Derry's Reddit before, and she's a sweetheart. And I did it with Ben from Genghis Khan, and that was a great conversation. And actually, I just recorded a conversation with Matt on Books, which, if it aligns right and not discounting the Christmas episode I hope to put out for Britain's Hangout Hour, probably will be my last podcast of the year. It has been a great year for me on BookTube, to be honest with you, though we have not even gotten to the end. There's still 1 month to go in 2023. I can't believe it. We're already here. And I'm going to talk about the stuff that I consumed in November. And to be honest, it wasn't a lot. Because, again, November, very busy. It was ridiculously busy. There was so much going on. I managed to complete a couple of things. So let's get into them. Why don't we? So, the first novel I'm going to talk about that I covered, this isn't the first book I read this last month, but it's a book I've been meaning to do, and I finally got around to it, and it is And the Ass Saw the Angel from Nick Cave. Yes, the musician Nick Cave from The Birthday Party, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. You've probably heard it all. How can I describe And the Ass Saw the Angel? I described it on some Discords I was on as a bizarre acid trip of a novel, and I think that's the best way to describe it. It's almost McCarthy-esque, but there's almost this, it's like McCarthy on acid, and there's just even more disgusting and grotesque shit going on in this novel. It's very biblical, if that makes any sense. It's very biblical in that McCarthy sense, where it's, the language is very heightened, and Cave has a unique way of describing the sacred and the profane, as they call it, or sacred and the profane, if you've seen The Sopranos, you know. Anyway, yeah, this was really good. This might have the best prose I've read all year that isn't Scott Lynch or Brian Catling or... I can't really think of any more at the moment because I read a lot this year. But And the Ass Saw the Angel was a unique reading experience. If you're a fan of Cormac McCarthy, if you're a fan of Nick Cave, I would recommend picking up And the Ass Saw the Angel. But keep in mind, it's very bizarre. It's very much in vernacular of southern United States, but there's also a bunch of Australian slang in there. So if you're a Nick Cave fan, or if you enjoy weird, dark, grotesque stuff, then, And the Ass Saw the Angel. Go check it out. The other book I read is a somewhat of a fantasy mainstay here on BookTube that I finally got around to. I didn't even know if I was going to get around to it this year, but I finally did, and it was Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This book was magical, I must say. Might be one of my favorite reads of the year. I really enjoyed the way that Susanna Clarke really enraptures you within the walls of the building where our main character Piranesi and the other also are hanging out at. I love the mystery. I love the world that it's in. I love that Susanna Clarke enraptures you within its grasp and never lets you go. The mystery is so compelling. And also, I really enjoyed the ending. I know I saw Jason did a review of this, and he didn't really care for the ending, but I liked the ending. I thought it was fine. I'm definitely looking forward to reading Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell next year, because that is one of my big reads I'm going to be reading next year, is that one. So I'm looking forward to it. I really enjoyed this book a lot. I've heard that Jonathan Strange, Mr. Norrell, is different than this, so and that's totally fine. I'm fine with that. But I really enjoyed this book, and I am kind of planning to have a discussion about it with Laura from Fantasy Awash, so hopefully that works out. But yeah, in terms of prose books, basically, and The Assault of the Angel and Piranesi are the only two I completed. I did start another book, but I completed it this month. Because I'm kind of in my full swing on my Christmas read. I'm doing Christmas reads, so yeah. Piranesi, check it out. It's a really good book. It's a really interesting fantasy novel. It's not like your grandma's favorite fantasy novel. It's really quite fantastic. As for comics, I didn't really read too much. I did finally catch up with Saga. I read Saga. I read the new volume of Saga. And now I am officially caught up until the 11th volume. What did I think of this? Pretty good. After the emotional nut kick that was the 9th volume, God, I don't want to go through that again. This was pretty good. It's not really necessarily there's not a lot going on. It's more of a reintroduction into the world of Saga. There's a lot of stuff going on. We see our main characters basically adapting with their new reality. There's a lot of new stuff going on. There's a lot of new characters. But Brian K. Vaughan's storytelling continues to be compelling, even though this is a bit of I would describe this volume as sort of a setup volume for what is to come. There's a lot going on. Hazel has grown older, so there you go about that. And we see what the Will has been up to. We see what Hazel and Elena have been up to. We've seen what all the other characters are up to. We've seen that Lucifer Morningstar guy, what he's up to. It's basically just reestablishing the world of Saga for those who have forgotten about it since, what happened in Volume 9, which I don't know if I can still take it. Oh, that's good. But yeah, no, Saga is great, and it's still pretty good. So yeah, I'm hoping Volume 11 gets things back up and swinging, but Volume 10 was pretty good. So yeah, aside from that, that's basically all the books that I read this last month. So let's get into films. Didn't watch too many. I watched one film called FX, which is a old action film from the 80s, which is actually a pretty great idea. It's about this guy who decides to step in, who is recruited by the government to fake the death of this mafioso. It goes sideways, and our FX guy has to get out of a conspiracy that's going on. To describe this movie in a sentence, it's an A+ concept with like a C- execution. Like the execution was pretty bare bones, what you would expect. Just kind of, it's basically Commando with special effects. If you've ever seen Commando, which is the most 80s action film that has ever 80s action filmed, it's basically like that. This guy just basically, who is, as far as I'm aware, a non-trained special effects guru, kicks the ass out of all of these people. And there are a couple recognizable faces. Tom Noonan, the guy who played Francis Dollarhide in Manhunter, is in it. And Brian Dennehy's in it, if you know him. He's in the original Rambo film. He's done a couple of other things. He's usually good at playing like slimy characters, but in this he's actually a pretty good guy, so we're good. Couple of other people are in it, but it was fine. I saw David Fincher's new film, The Killer, on Netflix. I watched it for my work, and it was pretty good. I was pretty excited because David Fincher was teaming up with Andrew Kevin Walker, who wrote Seven, which is my favorite David Fincher film. Is it like Seven? No, it's not. It's a very different film. But I did like The Killer for the most part. I liked there's a coldness to it, but it's very intentional. I really like how the characters in this film are so disconnected from regular people and regular our natural humanity, to the point where they are basically their functions. The killer isn't really a person, he is a function. He is what he does. It is not really that there are parts that showcase there is a human side to him, but we don't really see. It's about the functions. It's kind of hard. I did write a review about it, which I thought was really interesting. But yeah, those are the films I saw. Shows, I watched a couple. My friend Jason, who is generally prejudiced against animated shows, was like, "Hey, Britton, have you heard of Scavengers Reign?" And I'm like, "Why, no, Jason, no, I haven't. What is this?" And he basically explained to me that Scavengers Reign is this really weird animated show on HBO Max. I'm like, "Oh, I have HBO Max," so I watched it, and yeah, it's pretty bizarre. Definitely the most unique science fiction show I have seen this year. Probably the most unique show I've seen in a very long time, because it's definitely it's a show about people being stranded on a planet. Very basic stuff, but really where this show shines is the animation and the visual storytelling. I mean, my God, there's some... Like, the animation is a little wonky in some places, but it's very good for what it is, and I really enjoyed the... I love the atmosphere. It's very, very much inspired by Moebius. If you don't know who he is, Jean Giraud, in my opinion, in the top 5 greatest comic book artists of all time. And Hayao Miyazaki, of course, definitely with the atmosphere porn, as I like to call it. Jeff Vandermeer, one of my favorite science fiction writer living today, has talked about it on Twitter and really enjoyed it. And it's funny because a lot of this show reminds me of something that Jeff Vandermeer would write. I'm sure Jeff Vandermeer was watching it and was frustrated that he didn't come up with it. But yeah, Scavengers Reign was fantastic. I haven't actually finished it yet, sorry, but I will finish it soon, and I really enjoyed it a lot. It was probably the most unique thing I saw this year, and it was really fun. I really enjoyed it a lot. Last thing I'll talk about is the anime adaptation of Pluto. Finally, I managed to get around and watch it. What did I think? It was beautiful. It was a great adaptation of the original story. It literally is beat for beat the original story. And the English dub is very good as well. They got Keith David as Dr. Tenma, which was great. Nolan North is in it for a few minutes. He's pretty good. I enjoyed a good majority of it. I thought it was a fantastic adaptation of Naoki Urasawa's masterpiece, which I actually read earlier this year. I didn't think they would put it out this year, but I digress. Let's see. My favorite part of the story, which is the North 2 little mini arc that they did. They did it beautifully. I thought they did it. And just. God, you have to watch it. You have to read it to understand what I mean. But the North number 2 arc is so good, and they did it justice. I'm happy to say that they did it justice, and I'm very pleased that they did. And it's a beautiful story. It's science fiction as it ought to be most of the time. When it's not, it makes me frustrated because I wish there was more science fiction like Pluto. But I have to acknowledge that when it does come along, I'm glad that products like Pluto exist. And aside from that, I think that's all I really watched, read, did throughout the month of November. So, yeah, I guess I'll get going. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. You can check me out on Twitter, SomeOkieDude, Letterboxd, and Goodreads, where I write reviews, which are probably more coherent than the one you just heard right now. And you can find me on Discord if you want to come talk to me on there. And please, please feel free to join, because I love hearing from you guys. And comment down below what you read in November. I always, I'm always looking forward to what people have read. So feel free to comment down below. Tell me what you think. What did you read? What did you see? I'd love to hear from you guys. So, yeah. I guess I'll see you guys later. Until December.